Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail.
What is up, Fantasy Football Fiends? My name is Ziggy Guns along with
JT Magnum.
And it is week 11 of your NFL fantasy football season. It's getting crunch time. This is it. This is probably the most important couple of weeks. Most playoffs start around week 14, 15. And this is it. Do or die. So, it's very important weeks. Very important that you get your lineup set up. Bye weeks is only a couple. I think this is the last week of a bye week, right?
I think a couple more, yeah. Week 12 ends the last one.
Week 12.
Yeah.
And, so some of these, majority of the, bulky, bulk teams that were on bye are pretty much done. I think there's only a couple here and a couple there. But, yeah, let's just jump right onto that waiver wire. Or do you want to talk about some of the games?
No, just, with the coming weeks with the playoffs and everything, we're gonna probably end up changing some of the tickers there for your benefit. We're gonna probably end up putting the real top fives or whatever on there, or you can just ask us in the comment section like everybody's doing, because we're more than happy to give advice on some of the top, obviously the must starts and things like that. But what we're here for, what we felt like at the beginning was we wanted to help people out with players that most people wouldn't start, and that probably would do well during the week. So that's what we've been doing, and then we've been helping out with rosters as we go along, as people ask us questions. So if you have any questions or anything, don't forget to leave it in the comments or tweet us. A lot of people have been tweeting us, and that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Also, it's very important that you start looking at matchups, start paying attention to matchups, start paying attention to, what teams are doing against other teams, because these are indicators. If you see that Andre Brown destroyed, Oakland last week, then you should see whoever's playing Oakland and be like, maybe I should take a flyer on, this guy instead, over even somebody that's a must start, etc. So,
yeah,
these are the things you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's all about the matchups. It's all about the matchups and how teams, you got to remember also that NFL is a game of matchups. Some teams match up better than others. Look back. Yeah. Sometimes you can look back to see how a guy did last year against a certain team. Sometimes players just do well against certain teams. Like, you do your research, we're here to help you, and we can do that for you, but if you need help and we're not around, you can definitely do the research that way. That's how we do it. That's how, we remember. I remember games. I watch a lot of NFL games. I had the NFL package. I pay attention to a lot of different things. I remember games from last year, sometimes 2-3 years ago, and I remember how certain players just do against certain teams. So that's just helpful advice to help you along and maybe get you through your fantasy season, hopefully as a champion. But let's do these waiver wires. The first two quarterbacks we're going to talk about is Ryan Fitzpatrick and Scott Tolzien. Ryan Fitzpatrick is now in because Jake Locker is apparently done. He might be done for the year, right?
Done. He's done for the year. He got placed in IR. And we talked about Fitzpatrick. Nothing spectacular. He will show flashes of the past where he'll throw for 2-3 touchdowns a game. Nothing more usually than 250 to 275 yards. And, you're probably not going to depend on a guy like this, especially in this, what we're talking about, crunch time. But if you need somebody to plug in for a spot start, that's the only way he can hit your roster at this point. Hopefully you've already had some of these other quarterbacks we talked about, like Casey Keenum, etc. So,
yeah,
good luck.
Fitzpatrick is good sometimes. Like, he'd be one of those quarterbacks that one day can throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the next day throw for 150 yards and 3 interceptions. Like, he's just he's a gunslinging type of chance taker. But the one good thing about Fitzpatrick is Tennessee will be down a lot. So he's probably going to end up having to pass a lot more, and that could get you garbage points. So he's something to think about if your quarterback has only a bad matchup. and you need somebody to pick up, and he happens to be available. But I'm pretty sure there's other quarterbacks that are available that you can pick up other than Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Scott Tolzien, he is. I don't know what Green Bay was thinking with him, but he doesn't really know the offense yet. He's only been on the team a short time. San Fran released him at the beginning of the year. Green Bay picked him up at the beginning of the year, so he doesn't even know the offense really yet. So
that's because Seneca Wallace got hurt, right? That's
yeah,
reason
Seneca
why
Wallace,
they had to throw him to the Wolves.
Yeah, and Seneca Wallace didn't even really know the offense. He was pretty much off the street right onto Green Bay. So
Yep.
I wouldn't pick up Scott Tolzien. I mean, now that I said that, he's probably going to throw like 4 touchdowns this week, but I don't really look at him as any really threat at quarterback. So
and both options are pretty bad. I mean, this is that nightmare scenario that can happen in your fantasy team. You lose Aaron Rodgers in your fantasy team, and then you're scrambling to find a quarterback. That's what the Packers right now. They lost their fantasy quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and now they have nothing to replace him with. And this is the importance of having good backups. This is the importance of it.
Yeah. And
All right,
for
let's go on to the next.
Yeah, for running backs, we have Andre Brown and Brian Leonard. Andre Brown, as Siggy said earlier, went off, and he's playing Oakland this week? No, he played Oakland last week. Who's he playing this week?
He's playing they're playing Green Bay. That's right. We're talking about Green Bay.
And Green Bay has been pretty good against the run. But Green Bay, you got to also remember, Green Bay's offense is struggling. So you might have a few interceptions for the Giants. You might have some turnovers. You might have a lot of 3-and-outs where the Giants can get really good field position. And the Giants always play the Packers tough. And I just see Andre Brown getting a lot of goal line carries, things like that. So he might score a couple touchdowns this week. So he's definitely a good pickup and a must pickup. And another reason, he's a starter. So it's hard to find starters in the fantasy wire. And the waiver wire when you need them, and it never hurts to have too many running backs stocked up. So, and Brian Leonard's another one. He's a starter.
The Giants have already announced too with Andre Brown that he's going to be their featured back going forward, no matter what David Wilson does. And obviously, Brandon Jacobs, that hamstring one being a lot worse. We called that before he even knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you just saw in that game how old Peyton Hillis was already, and how bad, what's his name, the Scots or whatever his name was, the rookie or whatever he is. I don't even know what he is. But yeah, Andre Brown has no competition. This is a bona fide featured back that was already going to get goal line carries, and now is carrying the rock. And he's already proven that he can carry the rock, especially last year. He had good games. So definitely probably the best pickup that you can make right now is getting Andre Brown going forward.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about Leonard,
yeah, he's actually not a bad pickup, because if he's starting, like supposedly he is, I mean, they haven't really announced that he's starting yet, but I have a feeling he is. But he's a good pickup in the sense that he's also a pass catcher. Now, this is the third down running back that comes in all the time to catch passes. So if you have a guy that can run the ball and can catch passes, you never know if he might break free. He's not a 90-yard type of run kind of guy. Like, he's not going to get you a 90-yard spectacular run. He's not really fast in any sense whatsoever. But he's consistent, and he's going to get you some short yardage. He's going to get you some catches. So if you're in a PPR league and you need a running back, it's another good start for you. But as for anything else, if you have obviously stud running backs, you don't need to pick them up. But if you're really desperate for help, and maybe you had Mike James, who's on IR now, yeah, pick up Brian Leonard.
I was liking that other guy too, the one that brought in for a little bit, but I don't know what happened to him at the end.
Bobby Rainey.
Yeah,
I think his name is Bobby Rainey. Yeah, he's from Cleveland. They picked him up. Cleveland dropped him at the beginning of the year, and they picked him up. But he's got off the field problems, I think, or he's got some problems or whatever. That's why Cleveland dropped him, and they were talking about him as like he could be the other back, but I don't think he's going to start. But we're going to see, because maybe they'll leave Brian Leonard as the third running back and leave Rainey as the first. And if he is, then that might be really worth a pickup, because this guy has some explosiveness to him.
Yeah, keep an eye on that situation. It certainly looked like Leonard was definitely going to be there, but then at the very end, they started bringing in Rainey. And I mean, Rainey he had some flash in there. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
So
like
maybe
a
it's just
31-yard
that's how
run
bad.
against them, I think, right?
Yeah, and he looked like he was having it going on, but then it looked, I'm not sure if he got hurt or what, but then they pulled him, and then all of a sudden, the game got interesting at the end, and then yeah, Tampa Bay won. All right, what else we got?
For wide receivers, we have Tavon Austin and Rashard Matthews. Tavon Austin is a name that probably people don't have because at the beginning of the year, everybody was hot on him, and he pretty much fell off the limelight because he wasn't doing anything until last week when he had his coming out party against the Indianapolis Colts. So it seems like they're trying to get him involved. So since they're trying to get him involved a lot more, I would say Kellen Clemens just seems to have a better. It just seems like he's just doing better with Tavon Austin than Sam Bradford did, where Sam Bradford's comfort blanket was Austin Pettis. So it just seems like Kellen Clemens just throws to Tavon Austin a lot more. So I would say pick him up. I mean, you've seen the explosiveness. He can go off. I mean, maybe he could be streaky, but it's worth taking the gamble.
Man, but if you look at the microcosm of what happened in that game, he only had 15 plays the whole game. 2 catches only for all those yards were 2 bombs, and he was only thrown to like 4 times or something like that, maybe even only 3. So it's kind of like Kenny Stills. It looks like what's going to happen is it's going to be a big time hit or a big time miss. So I will be very careful if you're relying on that, because one week he could be like this, and the next week he will have no catches at all. So just be careful.
Yeah, the other guy's Rashard Matthews from the Dolphins, who took over, it seemed like, from Mike Wallace, who has been a fantasy nightmare for people, including Siggy, who has him on his team. He's been a nightmare. So he looks like he did pretty well, obviously, and I don't know his situation moving forward, like if he's going to be starting or what's going on with that, but I would pay attention to him and see if he's starting.
The Dolphins need to just go ahead and say, you know what, we made a mistake giving you $60 million. Going forward, since the season's already. The funny thing is they're still in contention for a wild card spot, even at 4-6. That's still middle of the pack in the league. So the Dolphins can't give up on the season, but they need to just give up on him and say, for the better of the team, we're just gonna have to put you either in the slot or you're gonna have to come in on special packages because. He's killing them. He really is. He's killing them.
Yeah, he's just not playing the same like he was in Pittsburgh. It's a lot different in Pittsburgh. But moving on, tight ends, John Carlson and Rob Hausler. I like John Carlson a little bit, but I don't like him this week against Seattle.
I actually think he's going to do good against Seattle because the way I look at it is
it's a bold
Christian
prediction.
Ponder.
That is a bold prediction.
The way I look at it is Christian Ponder doesn't have any deep threats. He's going to have to be checking down. So it's going to be Adrian Peterson or Carlson, and that's what happens. That's why Carlson has so many yards, 98 yards, is because he was forced to check down. And I would imagine that Sherman's not going to be on a tight end. So
is Ponder playing this week? Is Ponder playing this week? Didn't he get a separated shoulder?
I don't know. I didn't even know that he got hurt. Well, yeah, that's right. He did get hurt. So that's interesting. All right, well, now even more so then, because if it's Freeman or if it's Matt Castle, that's right, Castle came in and finished that game. If it's Castle that's throwing the ball, then he's definitely going to have to check down, I would think, especially since there's no deep threat. I mean, Greg Jennings is another bust. This is going to be covered by Sherman most likely. Cordell Patterson is going to be that hit and miss guy, which we know Castle's not going to be able to throw to him. So Carlson and Peterson are going to be the only ones getting any action in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Hausler, this week they're playing Jacksonville. Enough said. Pick him up because he's probably going to have a really good game this week. If you need a tight end, you got a tight end and buy, or you have Vernon Davis who happens to have a concussion and might not play. Like, we don't know the status of him yet and probably won't know until game day. Pick up Rob Hausler just in case you have no other tight ends to pick up in the league. I'm pretty sure Hausler's available in every league. It's rare that the only one who probably has him is maybe an Arizona Cardinal fan. So, pick him up. Defenses, we'll talk about the Rams and Giants. The Rams are on a bye this week, so if you have a defense, start another defense. But if you could pick them up, They've been doing extremely well with sacks and pressures and getting interceptions and fumbles and defensive touchdowns. So pick them up. They're hot right now. They're on fire. They're very confident and they're playing well. So I think they're all together pretty much now. They're all off injuries. So pick them up. And the Giants this week against the Packers. Like we said earlier, Scott Tolzien starting. He's not Aaron Rodgers. So, the offense is not run the same. So the Giants might be playing a team that's just inept at offense. So I would pick up the Giants this week. You're going to get some turnovers, maybe some touchdowns.
Yeah, that Giants defense is starting to turn around. I mean, they're getting their people healthy, and this is what happened back in when they won the Super Bowl. They looked horrible. Everybody was laughing at them. Next thing you know, they go on a tear, 6-7 wins in a row, and then they always limp into the playoffs. That's Giant football, and then they just shock everybody, and that it starts with that defense.
Yep.
And we've already known that the names are there. But now it looks like everything's starting to come together. So, yeah, keep an eye on that defense. Honorable mention, we did forget about one guy on a running back. Donald Brown just looks like he's taking over that job. Trent Richardson is a bust. So if Trent
Richardson did have a couple good runs, though. He had, really good runs. But
Trent Richardson, he's good for one run. Let's just put it that way.
But they were playing the Rams. The Rams do give up some rushing yards. Their defense is good, but they give up some rushing yards. So Trent Richardson, if he didn't break out against them at least for a couple good runs, then something's wrong with him. So at least we know something's not wrong with him.
That's true. But, I mean, it just looks like Donald Brown is starting to be the guy. And I'm not sure how long they're going to have to – I mean, it looks like they're going to be forced to play Richardson the rest of the year. I mean, you don't give up a first-round pick for nothing. You know what I mean? But
the only problem with Donald Brown is he's a little injury prone sometimes too. He's another.
That is true.
He's another problem. So they probably have to just draft a running back next year. Although they did give up a first round pick for Richardson.
They gave up a first round pick.
He's probably.
I think Richardson.
I would assume he's the future for them. So they're probably going to leave him alone.
Yep.
You don't give up a first round pick for somebody and then just bench him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's move on to the studs, duds, and Papasans. And who's your stud of the week?
My stud should be Andre Johnson. We've already seen what Nick Foles did to the Oakland Raiders. We saw what the Giants did to the Oakland Raiders. There's a trend going on right now is pick on the Oakland Raiders. And Case Keenum only likes to throw, it seems, balls that are 30, 40 yards deep. And that's Andre Johnson that he's throwing it to. So if Oakland can't stop them, and this guy is huge, and there's no way you can stop an Andre Johnson already, and Case Keenum loves throwing the deep ball, Andre Johnson should have a monster game.
Yeah, my stud of the week is going to be Chris Ivory from the Jets. He's been playing extremely well since coming back off injury. And I know the Bills have been pretty good against the run, but in the snow this week, it's been snowing up here in Buffalo, Western New York. That's where I'm from. And I just see ground game, and the Jets love to run. Rex Ryan loves to just pound people with their running backs. So look for Chris Ivory to have about another $150, maybe in a couple touchdowns or maybe a touchdown. So that's my stud of the week. Who's your dud?
My dud of the week is going to be Stevan Ridley. Carolina Panthers defense has just turned it on. I mean, I'm not lying. The Carolina Panthers, and I remember you laughing at me about me saying, man, that Carolina Panthers defense looks like it might be the real deal.
Yeah, I said it was preseason.
And I think you said it was preseason.
Yeah, and then they just completely wow, they've wowed me.
I mean, I saw flashes of that even in preseason. And it's just now, I mean, it's been decent. It's been good. Don't get me wrong, there's been some weeks where it hasn't. But, now these last few weeks, though, that defense has been up there with all of them. So,
yeah. No, it's number two. It's number 2 in the league. They're if anything, could be number 1. They're playing harder. They play definitely harder teams than Kansas City, who happens to be number 1 in the league, I believe. But they're amazing. They're a good squad. So, and you called it. I mean, I got to give you credit. You called it in preseason. You said it before the season even started to watch out for that defense. So, hats off to Siggy on that one. Look at that. Look at he's blushing. My dud of the week.
Really dud.
My dud of the week is going to be Jamal Charles, and I know people are going to be like, "What? That is bold." Yes, I did it. Yes, I've said it. I've said other things like Drew Brees before, but I'm just telling you right now. Denver's defense is very good against the run, and Denver's defense has been playing very well. They pretty much did pretty well against San Diego last week, and I just for some reason I see them getting up for this game with Peyton Manning a little bit hurt. Champ Bailey is coming back. I just see them just looking to shut him down because that's the key. That's the key to beating the Chiefs, is shutting Jamal Charles down. There's no one really on that team is going to beat you. Alex Smith doesn't throw to wide receivers really, unless it's a screen pass. I've said it all year long. That's all he's been doing. He doesn't really throw a deep bomb. He doesn't really throw anything else. So he just throws screen passes and deep bombs on, and it's a given that somebody's going to eventually catch up to him. And the last maybe 2 weeks, I believe they've been pretty much reading that screen pass play a lot. So the NFL defense seems to finally catch up to it. So I look for Jamal Charles actually to struggle this weekend against Denver in Denver.
All right.
Who's your sleeper?
Bold.
Who's the Papasan?
My sleeper's going to be Andre Brown against the Green Bay Packers. He was a sleeper pretty much last week also against Oakland. Andre Brown is going to be somebody that nobody's going to be – he's going to come out of nowhere. And this is what the Giants wanted in the beginning of the year with David Wilson, and Andre Brown is going to be the guy that fills that void. The Giants wanted to be a running football team to set up the play action for Eli Manning, and that's what their formula of success is with Manning. And Andre Brown's going to give it to them. So I will watch out for the Giants. This is going to be a team that a lot of people are already sleeping on. All of a sudden, they're 2 games behind everybody in that division, and they started 0-6.
Yeah.
And they're actually in range right now, and they have a favorable schedule. And I'll watch out. And Andre Brown's going to be the main reason why they get back in it.
Yeah. My sleeper of the week is going to be Andre Ellington. And why? Because he's playing the Jaguars. And not only that, but he's very explosive. So we'll see. I don't even think he starts. But they still like Mendenhall for some reason. But I'm going to put Andre Ellington in there to get maybe 125 yards or so and maybe a touchdown.
Veterans.
Yep,
That's
the veterans. They love the veterans. You got a guy who's explosive off the bench, catching and running, and they leave him in there just to hang. You know?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, but oh well. Well, that's it, guys. That's our studs, duds, and papasans and our waiver wire pickups. Don't forget, like we always say, to tweet at us at Optimus Magnum and at Siggy V. And don't forget to ask us any questions you need or anything you need in the comment section. The YouTube changed the comment section, so we'll try our best to try to respond the best way we possibly can. But it's all weird now. It's all done with Google+. So, and we are attached to Google+. I have attached an account to it, so hopefully we should be able to comment and do things the right way. If not, just hit us up on Twitter. All right? If you don't have a Twitter yet, what's wrong with you? Get one. Follow us. Anything you need to add?
That's it.
All right, Fantasy Football Fiends,
Good
we
luck.
out. Peace.